You cheated on me, brought an STD home, and gave it to me. Can you believe that? That's what she said. How could you do this to me? My wife accused me. She actually slapped me, right in front of my entire family, on Christmas Eve. But just days later, she was on her knees, literally begging me not to expose the truth. I'm 37, and my wife, Mariella, is 36. Honestly, for more than a decade, everyone, and I mean everyone, would have told you our marriage was rock solid. We met back in college, dated for 3 years, and tied the knot when I was 25. We were the typical couple. We bought a nice little house in Chandler. We always talked about finally having kids someday, and every summer, we'd take that predictable trip to San Diego. Our life was just calm, stable, totally drama-free. My family absolutely adored her. Her family treated me like I was one of their own kids. Our friends saw us as the balanced couple, the gold standard where everything just seemed to work effortlessly. And I believed it, too, right up until a few months ago. Lately, things in the relationship had started feeling strange, but it was one of those subtle things you can't quite put your finger on. It was just that unsettling feeling that drops into your chest when you know something vital is out of place. Mariella worked in pharmaceutical sales, a career known for late meetings and constant long calls. That wasn't new, but suddenly, she started acting totally different. She'd head straight for the shower the second she walked in the door. Her mobile was always face down, and she'd get instantly tense whenever I asked about her day. I kept telling myself it was just end-of-year stress, the pressure of quotas, those big corporate bonuses, all that nonsense. I convinced myself we were maybe just hitting that routine phase where a couple coexists more than they truly connect. It's not unheard of in a long marriage, right? Then Christmas Eve arrived. We were celebrating, as we always did, at my parents' house in Gilbert. My whole crazy family was there. My brother Romero and his wife, my sister Paula with her 3 little monsters, uncles, aunts, cousins, a full-on circus. My mom had decorated the house until it looked like a terrifying mix between a Christmas movie set and a fire waiting to happen. I was sitting down, sipping a soda, trying hard to look busy so my uncle wouldn't drag me into another one of his political monologues. Mariella, meanwhile, was glued to her phone, just as she'd been all afternoon. She was typing nonstop, the tension visible in her shoulders and in the frantic way she moved her hands. Around 8 p.m., she finally put the phone aside and just stared at a fixed point on the wall. She wasn't openly crying, not talking, just completely gone. Paula was the first to notice. She always had a soft spot for Mariella. She thought Mariella was grounded, sensible, frankly, a better catch than I deserved. Paula walked over, wrapped her arms around Mariella's shoulders, and asked gently if she was all right. Mariella shook her head, unable to speak, but her eyes immediately started welling up. I was mid-conversation with my brother Romero when I felt the atmosphere shift. I saw Paula comforting Mariella, who was now quietly sobbing. My mother noticed too and rushed over with that look of emotional panic that always drove my father insane. Dad preferred to wait for the facts. Mom always reacted first and thought later. Then Mariella looked up and observed me from across the room. The look in her eyes instantly made me feel like the floor was tilting. She stood up slowly. Paula stood with her, still gripping her arm. My mother kept asking what was going on, but nobody answered. All conversations died instantly, and the air grew thick as everyone realized something monumental was about to happen. Mariella took several deep, shaky breaths. Her hands were visibly trembling. She wiped her tears, looked around the room, and then said, low but loud enough for everyone to hear, "I need to say something." The room fell into total silence. I've been trying to figure out how to say this for a week. I didn't want to ruin Christmas. I didn't want to do this here, in front of everyone, but I absolutely cannot keep quiet anymore. I felt totally lost. It felt like she was talking about a completely different life. "Mariella, maybe we should go talk in private," I suggested, trying to be calm. "No," she cut me off, her voice gaining firmness. "I've been trying to talk to you alone for months. I gave you chances. I made excuses for you. I convinced myself I was just imagining things." Now her tears were streaming freely. "I stayed quiet about the nights you came home late, about the work trips where you smelled like foreign perfume, about those immediate showers the second you got home, like you were scrubbing something off. I was absolutely baffled, I swear. I didn't understand anything. I thought it was stress, that you were just exhausted, that I was being ridiculously insecure," she continued. "I even went to the doctor. I thought maybe I had a hormonal imbalance, or depression, something to explain why I felt so utterly disconnected from you." My mother put her hands over her mouth. Paula looked at me with a frightening blend of confusion and horror. My father just watched, silent, trying to analyze the whole scene. "But that wasn't it," Mariella said, pulling her mobile from her bag with trembling hands and opening a document. "The doctor ran tests, standard tests for certain symptoms, and the results came back on Thursday." She lifted the phone without showing the screen yet. "I have herpes." "Herpes," she announced it with a shattered voice, but loud enough for the entire room to hear. "And I have been with only one person for 15 years, my husband, the man I trusted." The room erupted with gasps, murmurs, and scandalized looks. My mother physically recoiled as if she'd been struck. My father stood up, his face rigid and unreadable. "Mariella, I don't know what you're thinking," I stammered, trying to make sense of it. What am I thinking? She practically screamed. I'm thinking you cheated on me. I'm thinking you brought an STD into our home and you infected me. I'm thinking I was a faithful wife while you were out there with who knows how many women. I have not cheated on you, I countered, raising my voice to match hers. Liar, she shouted. You are a liar. All those work trips to Tucson, all those nights you had to stay late on projects, the weekends you were unavailable, you weren't working. You were with her, or with them, with all the people you've been hiding. By this point, Paula was fully weaponized on Mariella's side, glaring daggers at me. My mother was openly weeping, already treating this like a personal family disaster. My father remained still, carefully observing the chaos, trying to piece together the truth. And there I was, publicly accused of adultery and transmitting a disease I'd never had, in front of my whole family, on the night meant for togetherness. I couldn't speak at first. Part of me was just in denial, unable to accept what I was seeing, and another part simply couldn't process the sheer absurdity of it. But Mariella didn't slow down for a second. Her voice was breaking, yet she continued to unload everything in front of my relatives. I stayed quiet because I didn't want to believe it, she insisted, sobbing. I kept telling myself I had to give you the benefit of the doubt because I loved you, because I thought what we had was real. I've been home every night, taking care of everything, acting like the perfect wife, and this is what I get in return, a disease I'll have forever. I tried to break in. Mariella, just listen to me. But she cut me off, hard. No, I am done listening to you. I am tired of making excuses for you, she said, her voice rising as tears streamed down her face. I've been protecting you for months, safeguarding your reputation, avoiding saying anything about what I suspected so no one would speak ill of you. But I can't do it anymore. I cannot stay quiet while you lie right to my face. It was clear she was playing to the room. My family was completely mesmerized by her performance. That's when my sister Paula stepped forward with over-the-top drama. Oh my God, Mariella, I had no idea, she said, instantly shooting me a look of pure hatred. How could you do something like this to her? Paula, I didn't do anything, I sputtered. Don't you dare try to justify yourself, she interrupted, pointing at me. She has medical proof. She has results. What do you have? More lies. My mother came up to Mariella in a classic maternal gesture, taking her arm. Honey, I am so sorry, she murmured, crying. I don't even know what to say. Then she looked at me like I was the most despicable stranger. How could you? I raised you better than this. Mom, I did not cheat on her, I swear, I replied, almost shouting. I don't know what's happening, but I was not unfaithful to her. Then how did she get it? She demanded, completely overwhelmed by emotion. You're her husband. If you didn't give it to her, who did? I don't know, but it wasn't me. In the middle of the mess, my father was the only one who kept his cool. His tone was firm, calm, almost surgical compared to the hysteria. We all need to take a breath for a second, he said. This is a very serious accusation, and we must be guided by facts, not by raw emotions. Thank heaven someone was speaking logically. But Paula whipped her head around as if he just blasphemed. She just told you the facts, she stressed. She has medical results. She has results indicating she's sick, my father corrected. But that doesn't definitively prove the origin. Mariella's eyes grew wide as if she'd been personally insulted. Are you implying I'm lying? Seriously, are you actually going to defend him? All I'm saying is we need the full story before we destroy someone's life, he replied calmly. Destroy his life? Mariella shrieked, totally beside herself. What about mine? I'm the one who's humiliated. I am the victim here. Then she marched right up until she was inches from me. She was shaking all over, soaked in tears. How could you? She whispered first, just for me, before repeating the phrase in a high, clear, dramatic tone so everyone could hear. How could you do this to us? And then she delivered a slap across my face so loud the sound just hung there in the air. It was the climax of her theatrical performance, and it worked perfectly. Everyone froze. Paula reacted instantly. You cannot stay here. Come with me. Don't spend one more minute near this monster. My mother nodded through her tears. Yes, go with Paula. You need to be somewhere safe. Mariella grabbed her bag, her hands shaking. I need to go. I need space. Paula put an arm around her. Come on, honey. You don't have to endure this. They walked out of the house together. As they headed toward the car, I could hear Paula relentlessly insulting me while consoling Mariella, and my mother was nodding in agreement, as if every word Paula said was gospel truth. The silence left behind was thick and heavy. Everyone stared at me, waiting for a confession. My father pulled me aside. You need to get tested first thing tomorrow morning, he instructed. You need evidence. I know. I'll do it. Good, because right now, everyone here sees you as guilty, and without facts, you have no way to defend yourself. That night, I drove home alone. My mind was spinning at 1,000,000 miles an hour. The house felt empty without Mariella, though to be honest, it was also a relief. I desperately needed space to think. The entire show she put on had seemed too polished, too rehearsed. And yet, one detail kept nagging at me. 6 months ago, I'd had minor gallbladder surgery, a quick procedure, but with 4 lines and blood draws. Could a medical error somehow explain this? It seemed almost impossible, but accidents happen. If she hadn't cheated on me, Maybe it was a hospital mix-up. Maybe neither of us was to blame. That thought was the only thing keeping me from completely losing it right then. The next morning, I drove straight to a medical center in Scottsdale. I asked for a full panel of sexually transmitted disease tests. The nurse asked if I had symptoms. I told her no, I just needed absolute clarity. She gave me that look, the one that says, "I've seen this movie 1,000 times." They took all the samples, blood tests, urine, and swabs. The results would take 3 to 5 business days. 3 to 5 days that felt like an eternity. When I got home, I had 5 messages from Mariella. "We need to discuss our finances. I need access to your account for my medical expenses. After what you did, you should at least help me. Are you going to ignore me? I need the money." The victim act had officially begun. Every message was loaded with demands. I replied, "Wait for my results. Then we'll talk." It took her an hour to write back. "Oh, so you're going to leave me alone with all this? You're going to abandon me. You're the one who left me," I thought. I typed back, "You're living with Paula. Figure it out there." My phone immediately started ringing. Mariella. I ignored it. She called again, and again. On the second day of waiting, something I never, ever imagined happened. An unknown number called me. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Hello," a woman's voice, shaky, replied. "Are you Mariella's husband?" "Yes." "Who is this?" "I'm Rocio. My husband is Hector. He works with your wife." My stomach instantly plummeted. "What's wrong?" She took a deep breath, like she was steeling herself. "I just got my results. I have herpes, and I know perfectly well my husband gave it to me because he's been cheating on me with your wife for 6 months." A brutal chill shot through me. What are you saying?" "I discovered everything," she continued, crying. "Messages, hotel receipts, photos, everything. And in that instant, all the pieces snapped into place. They've been having an affair. And now we both have herpes because of them." The words hit me like a solid brick right to the chest. I had to sit down on the couch. I was so dizzy. It was too much information at once, too absurd, too painful, like my brain was physically refusing to process it. I struggled to swallow air before asking, "Since when have you known?" I tried to keep my voice steady, but the tremor was obvious, the disbelief, the mix of fear and sheer rage bubbling up from my stomach like acid. "I'd suspected for months," she replied, "but I confirmed it just yesterday. I found a phone my husband was hiding in the garage. A second phone, one I never knew existed. It was stashed behind a toolbox. All the messages between them were there. Every lie, every pathetic excuse, every time he told you he was working late or traveling for conferences, he was actually with her, with your wife." I stayed silent, pressing my fingers into my temples, trying to organize my thoughts as the truth, the one I never wanted to face, seeped into my bones. She took another deep breath, gathering strength to say the next thing, like it cost her every ounce of dignity and energy she had left. "I'm calling you because you deserve to know the truth. Your wife caught an STD that my husband gave her, and now she's given it to you. She's a liar, an unfaithful woman, and a coward. And I'll tell you something else. I plan to take everything he owns. I am not going to let him walk away from this like nothing happened." I felt the room physically shrink around me. "Mariella accused me of infecting her," I said slowly, remembering every horrific detail. "Last Christmas Eve, in front of my family, she slapped me and called me sick. She humiliated me like I was garbage." Rocio let out a contemptuous snort, one of those sounds loaded with years of accumulated frustration. "Of course she did. That's the cheater's playbook. Get ahead of the truth so no one suspects you. I got tested yesterday. I'm waiting for my results. I hope yours come back negative, because if not, it means she infected you. And on top of that, she tried to destroy your reputation to cover herself, to make you responsible for her own disaster." We talked for about 20 more minutes. It felt like hours. During that time, Rocio sent me all the screenshots she'd found. Explicit messages between Hector and Mariella, hotel reservations, conversations about meeting times, deleted photos from his phone, irrefutable proof of a 6-month-long affair, all while Mariella was home, acting like the perfect, loving wife, pretending none of it existed. I saved absolutely everything in a folder. Not a single piece of evidence would be deleted. When I finally hung up, part of me expected to feel total panic about the medical possibilities, the tests, the needles. But that fear was pushed into a corner so small, it almost vanished. What replaced it was a freezing fury, a sharp clarity, a steely determination I'd never felt before in my life. Mariella had cheated, she'd caught an STD, and instead of taking responsibility, she decided to expose me publicly on Christmas Eve to control the narrative and shield herself from any suspicion. My results were still pending, but the truth was now blindingly obvious. I didn't need a piece of paper to know exactly what had happened. Day 3 of waiting for the results. On the third morning, Mariella showed up at the front door. I watched her park from the window, and for a second, I thought about not opening it, about letting her stand there with that look of false annoyance on the face I no longer recognized. But I decided to open the door, not because I wanted to talk to her, but because this had to end right now. She walked in with a frown, and that same victim air that I used to mistake for concern, and that I now found utterly repulsive. "We need to talk about money," she said without even a greeting. "My medical bills are piling up, and you're ignoring me as if I don't exist. This is your responsibility too. The medications are expensive, and you're acting like none of this matters. I pointed toward the sofa. Sit down, Mariella. Don't tell me what to do. I'm not sitting down until you transfer money to my account. The hospital calls me every day, and it's your fault I'm dealing with this alone. You're the one who. I said sit down. My voice came out firm, icy, with a tone that surprised even me. The room seemed to instantly freeze. Something in that tone completely cut her off. Her mouth hung slightly open, as if she'd forgotten how to argue. Finally, she sat down slowly, defeated by an authority she had never seen in me. I pulled out my phone and opened the folder with Rocio's screenshots. I let the silence hang there, heavy, almost unbearable. I know about Hector. The color drained from her face so fast I could almost physically watch it happen. What? Hector, your company's regional manager. The man you've been sleeping with for the last 6 months. The one who infected you. Sound familiar? I don't know what you're talking about. His wife called me. She sent me everything. Messages, hotels, photos. I know you slept with him. I know he's the one who infected you. And I know you blame me on Christmas Eve to cover up your personal disaster. Mariella opened and closed her mouth several times, as if the words were dissolving before she could form them. I leaned forward, resting my elbows on my knees. My results haven't arrived yet, I said. But I already know the truth. You were unfaithful to me. You caught an STD from your lover, and then you tried to destroy my reputation to save your own skin. She remained rigid, petrified. You can't. I can't what? Sue you? Shame you? Send these screenshots to your mother, to your work, to your whole family? Go ahead, try me. I dare you. The tears started running down her face. Real tears this time. Not the Christmas Eve performance. Not the theatrical manipulation. It was a mistake, she stammered. I didn't mean to. I didn't think. Yeah, right. It just happened. That's why you repeated the mistake several times for months. How incredibly convenient. We can fix this, she pleaded with a broken voice. Get out of my house. No, listen to me. I said get out. This is my house too, she whined, her voice high and desperate. You can't throw me out like I'm trash. I stood up without answering. I went straight to the bedroom, opened the closet, and started pulling out her clothes. The hangers clattered together, making a dry, metallic noise. I grabbed trash bags and started filling them methodically. Dresses, shoes, those ridiculously ugly decorative pillows, everything. She followed me from room to room, screaming hysterically. You can't do this. You can't throw me out. I am not throwing you out, I replied as I zipped up a bag. I'm removing waste from my property. There's a difference. She lunged to snatch one of the bags from me. I pulled it back. She lost her balance and nearly fell. If you touch my things again, I'm calling the police for assault. Go ahead. I want to see if you have the nerve. Her face twisted into a grotesque mix of rage and desperation. Are you insane? You're a psychopath. Yes, and you're a cheating wife who tried to blame me for her mistakes. So we're even. I took 3 bags to the door and tossed them onto the porch. The thud they made against the floor was almost satisfying. I went back for more. Mariella was still standing there, trembling, her makeup smeared like a tragic cartoon character. Are you truly going to do this? She whispered, as if she still thought she could appeal to me. You barely understand. Now I walked into the bathroom and grabbed her makeup bag. Of course, Hector. It was unprotected, I said without looking at her. It clearly shows that critical thinking isn't your strong suit. Go to hell. I've been there. It's called being married to you. I tossed the makeup bag onto the pile, next to her other bags. Anything else you want to take? You can always call a lawyer. Oh right. You don't have any money. You'll have to ask Hector for help. She stood there, motionless, rigid, like a shattered statue. I hope you get it, she spat. I hope your results come back positive, so you'll know what this feels like, so you'll finally understand what I feel. I looked at her with a calm I didn't know I possessed, and I smiled. A cold, empty smile. There you are, the real you. It was about time. I grabbed the last bag, opened the door wide, and pointed with my head. Go. I hate you. Perfectly mutual feeling. And she left, crying, her shoulders shaking as she walked to her car without a shred of dignity, without a mask, without any more lies to tell. I closed the door calmly behind her. I didn't slam it or make a dramatic exit. I just pushed it until it clicked, turned the key, and threw the security chain on. As soon as I finished securing it, the frantic banging started. Open the door. Open it. Her fist slammed against the wood over and over, as if she could break through with pure will. I walked unhurriedly into the kitchen, opened the fridge, took out a drink, and cracked the can open with a sharp snap that perfectly contrasted with her hysteria. I took a long, slow sip as the uproar continued. 5 minutes, then 10. Her voice broke between hysterical sobs and desperate pleas. Please, please, can we fix it? Please, until suddenly, silence. I heard her car engine turn over, and then the screech of tires on the asphalt as she sped out of the driveway. The next day, I met with my lawyer. I had never been so grateful that I insisted on a prenuptial agreement before marrying Mariella. Back then, she protested endlessly. She claimed it meant I doubted her, that I didn't believe in our relationship, that it was a sign I expected us to fail. I explained that it was just sensible, that it protected both of us, and simply clarified what each of us brought into the marriage. She finally, reluctantly, agreed to sign it, probably thinking she'd convince me to dissolve it later. She had no idea that document was about to become my absolute lifeline. I gave my lawyer everything. The screenshots Rocio sent me, the phone records I'd requested from the company, the testimonies of the family members who witnessed that accusation on Christmas Eve, and of course, the full story of the affair, the STD, and the public humiliation. She reviewed the material and gave me a confident smile. "We have a perfect case," she told me. "Infidelity, defamation, false accusations, and a rock-solid prenuptial. She will walk away with exactly what she brought into the marriage, which was nothing. Exactly what I want. I'm still waiting for my medical results," I commented. "They should arrive in the next day or two." "It doesn't change the divorce," she replied easily. "The cheating is enough, but if you test positive, we can add a civil claim for damages." We filed the lawsuit that same afternoon. Everything was direct, irreconcilable differences, adultery, and asset division. According to the prenup, I kept the house, the vehicles, and the savings. Mariella was entitled only to her personal belongings and her retirement fund, which had around $15,000. We had her serve the papers at Paula's house. Based on the messages she sent me later, cursing me out every way imaginable, Mariella completely collapsed when she read the divorce terms. And honestly, I couldn't muster an ounce of pity. 3 days later, my results finally arrived. Between the holidays and the emergency clinic delays, everything had taken longer than normal. I was sitting in the clinic's parking lot when I opened the envelope. Negative. All tests were completely clean. A wave of profound relief washed over me, as if the tension accumulated over weeks had instantly melted away. She hadn't infected me. Whatever she'd been doing with Hector had, thankfully, not reached me. I snapped a photo of the report and sent it to Rocio. Her response was immediate. "Perfect. Now make her pay for everything." Then I sent the same photo to my lawyer, who replied within minutes. "Excellent. This further strengthens your position. She tried to destroy you when she was the guilty party all along. The judge won't have any sympathy for her." Mariella hired a lawyer right away, a specialist in women's rights, which in this case seemed to mean trying to annul prenups and bleed husbands dry. She filed a motion claiming Mariella had signed the prenup under duress, arguing she deserved 50% of all assets, alimony, full medical coverage, and a host of other ridiculous demands. My lawyer laughed softly as she read it. "It's absurd," she told me. "The prenup was signed 2 months before the wedding with independent legal counsel. No judge in this state will annul that. Given her infidelity and the false accusation, she'll be lucky to leave with just her own retirement fund." The discovery phase was devastating for Mariella. Every single message with Hector came to light. Every hotel receipt. Every invented excuse to cover a night out or a fake work trip. Her lawyer tried to block some of the evidence, claiming it was improperly obtained. But since it came from the legal process of Hector's wife and her own divorce, it was all completely valid. The Christmas Eve scene became a central focus of my case. My lawyer argued it showed a clear pattern: manipulation, false accusations, and a willingness to ruin my reputation to save herself. She presented the sworn statements of everyone present who saw Mariella hit me and accuse me publicly. Mariella's lawyer tried to paint me as a controlling, spiteful man, but the documents, the medical results, the phone records, the witness testimonies, were impossible to refute. The judge showed her zero sympathy. During that time, I also spoke with my family. I sent them a group message with all the evidence, the records proving the infidelity, the screenshots of Mariella and Hector's conversations, my clean test results versus her positive ones, and the full story of how she tried to publicly destroy me to deflect from her own deception. My mother called me, crying. "Son, I am so sorry. I should have believed you. I should have waited for the facts before reacting." "Yes, you should have," I replied. "You condemned me instantly, Mom, just because Mariella cried. Not one question, not one doubt, just immediate judgment." I know. Please forgive me. I need time, Mom. That's all." Then Paula called. "You can't blame us for believing her. She seemed so sincere." "She was lying," I said. "And you were the first one to slap horrible labels on me. You just aligned with the narrative that was convenient for you to believe." I never imagined things would go this far with Paula. In theory, we were siblings, family for life, the people who should trust each other before anyone else. But when everything exploded, her reaction was so quick, so automatic. It was scary. I tried to make her see reason, to remind her who I was, but it felt like talking to an emotional brick wall. "Paula," I said, keeping my voice controlled even though I was burning inside. "I understand you're upset. I truly do. But I'm still your brother, not some enemy you get to vent your frustration on. I didn't do any of this. Is that really so hard for you to see?" She didn't answer. I could hear her heavy breathing, like she couldn't separate her feelings from the reality of the situation. I continued, "Why don't you try something different for once? Tell me, when was the last time you actually waited for the facts before jumping to a conclusion?" That question, instead of making her think, made her explode. She hung up on me immediately, cutting the call without another word. That sudden silence left a heavy void in my chest. I stayed there for a while, staring at the phone screen, maybe waiting for a text, an explanation, anything, but there was nothing, just silence. Later, when I'd resigned myself to the day not getting any better, my father called. His tone was soft, almost tired, but there was a hidden firmness there. "How are you holding up, son?" "As well as I can, Dad. In the middle of all this," I replied. "But I've made a decision. I'm going to distance myself from Mom and Paula for a while. I can't keep enduring their habit of reacting first and thinking later. It exhausts me emotionally, and I'm just not willing to carry that anymore." My father let out a deep, knowing sigh, one that seemed to have been accumulating for decades. "I understand perfectly," he said, "and I want you to know something important. I believed you from the very first minute. I didn't need proof or elaborate explanations. I know you. I know exactly who you are." His words brought a tiny bit of stability back into my world. "Thanks, Dad," I murmured, truly grateful. I really needed to hear that. There was a long, heavy silence. "I have to tell you something," he finally continued. "It's serious. I've been talking to a lawyer for a while now." Christmas only confirmed what I already knew. It took my brain a moment to process those words. "Confirmed what?" I asked, though I already had a terrible feeling about the answer. "I'm going to divorce your mother." I stayed rooted to the chair, but I felt like the floor had opened up beneath me. "Are you serious?" "Completely," he replied with a quiet certainty, without a trace of doubt. "I've spent too many years watching her turn every single emotion into a solid fact. If she feels something, she immediately interprets it as absolute truth. And anyone who disagrees with her becomes an instant enemy." He wasn't speaking out of anger. He was speaking from a lifetime of pure exhaustion. "I could tolerate it before," he went on. "When it was about some neighbor, a misunderstanding at work, or some unimportant family gossip. I let it go. But what she did to you, accusing you like that without a shred of proof, in front of everyone, that was too much, even for me." I tried to offer a defense, just a reflex. "She apologized," I said, knowing what he would say next. "She apologized for how you felt, not because she was wrong," he answered without hesitation. "She doesn't even acknowledge she was wrong. In her mind, the fact that she was upset and Mariella was crying excused everything. I felt bad. Is her justification to blame anyone for anything?" Another pause, longer this time. "I've tried everything, son," he added. "Therapy, conversations, attempts to set boundaries, limits. Nothing worked. I'm 62. I am not going to spend what's left of my life mired in conflict every time your mother decides her feelings are worth more than reality." We talked for over an hour. He told me he'd been considering separation for months. That Christmas had simply been the final breaking point. That living with someone who denied facts whenever they were inconvenient was like walking through an emotional minefield every single day. Meanwhile, Hector's life, Mariella's lover, was spectacularly collapsing. Rocio wasted no time. She filed for divorce with rock-solid evidence. The hidden phone's messages, the secret trips, the lies, the STD transmission, all documented. Their children, 13 and 15, were outraged. They were old enough to fully grasp the gravity of their father's actions. When the judge asked them directly if they wanted to maintain contact with him, they both said no. They stated they didn't want to be near someone who had cheated on their mother, humiliated her, and lied to them as well. The court granted Rocio primary custody. Hector was only given the right to supervised visits, and only if the kids wanted them. They never did. Rocio got the house, the cars, and secured alimony for herself and the children. Hector ended up in a dreary, old apartment in Mesa, in a neighborhood nobody wants to be in, working as a middle manager with half his previous salary. He'd been fired from the pharmaceutical company for fraudulent expenses and ethical violations, so he had to take whatever he could get. Mariella didn't fare any better. The internal investigation revealed that she and Hector had charged numerous personal expenses, hotels, dinners, conference trips without justification, as work-related. The company gave her a quiet out, resign, and take 3 months severance to avoid a lawsuit. She accepted without fighting, because fighting would have been signing her own confession. Months later, she found a job, but with a 30% pay cut. She moved into a small apartment in Tempe and struggled constantly to pay the rent and her medication costs. My divorce was finalized in April. The judge enforced the prenuptial agreement without any alterations. Mariella kept only her personal belongings and her retirement fund, nothing else. She tried every argument, that the agreement was unfair, that I was financially secure and should support her, that her medical issues shouldn't be a factor. The judge didn't budge an inch. The final ruling was clear and brutal. The wife engaged in a sustained extramarital relationship, contracted an STD from her lover, and then falsely accused her husband to cover up her actions. The prenuptial agreement stands and will be executed as written. Mariella cried as the final orders were read. I honestly felt nothing. No sadness, no relief, no rage. Just an absence of feeling. While all that was unfolding, my parents' divorce was moving forward in parallel. My mother tried to stop it with pleas, emotional blackmail, childlike arguments, even implying my father was having a midlife crisis. Nothing worked. I later learned that in one of the mediation sessions, my father told her with devastating clarity, "I have spent 40 years managing your emotions. I am done. When you condemned our son without a single fact, I knew exactly who you are. I am not going to repeat 20 more years of this." The process was simple. No minors, no complex disputes. They divided the assets, and each went their separate way. That simple. That definitive. The only real point of contention was the house. My mother wanted to keep it at all costs. My father, however, wanted to sell it immediately and close that chapter forever. The judge eventually sided with my father, and though it hurt my mother, we all knew she couldn't maintain that huge place on her own. She ended up moving in with Paula, which I knew was a recipe for disaster from the start. Two emotional, impulsive, and drama-fueled people under one roof. Mentally, I gave them 6 months before they started fighting. My father, for his part, bought a modern, minimalist apartment in Scottsdale. It was quiet. I had truly never seen him look so peaceful. He seemed 10 years younger. Meanwhile, Mariella tried desperately to garner sympathy among our mutual acquaintances and friends. She posted passive-aggressive messages on social media about toxic husbands and a supposed culture of blaming victims. Some people believed her, but most started to catch on when I quietly sent people the real evidence. Her social circle shrank drastically. The few who remained were the typical ones who believe anything as long as it comes from a woman, regardless of the facts. Let them stay with her, I thought. 2 years after the divorce. It was New Year's Eve, and my father was at my house, watching a game with me. We were relaxed, just eating some snacks when the doorbell rang around 8 p.m. "Are you expecting someone?" he asked. "No," I replied, confused. When I opened the door, it was Mariella. She looked awful, like life had mercilessly chewed her up and spit her out. She had lost weight unhealthily. Her hair was pulled back in a greasy ponytail, and she had dark circles so deep no makeup could hide them. The herpes medications were clearly not agreeing with her. "Hello," she said with a trembling voice. "Can I come in?" I shook my head, but she insisted. "Please, just a minute. I need to talk to you." My father appeared behind me. When she saw him, her face lost even more color. She knew exactly what he thought of her. "It's Mariella," I said, standing firmly in the doorway. "And she was just leaving." "Wait," she blurted out quickly. "I beg you, just listen to me." There was something in the way she pleaded that stopped me. Not out of pity, but out of a kind of morbid curiosity. I wanted to see how low she was willing to sink. I gave her 5 minutes outside on the porch. My father leaned against the doorframe, his arms crossed, observing her like she was some strange insect under a microscope. Mariella didn't take long to break down. She burst into uncontrolled sobs. This wasn't the manipulative crying of 2 years ago. This was ugly, messy, full of snot, and genuine desperation. "I ruined everything," she babbled. "I know. I lost everything. My career, my apartment. I'm living in a cousin's guest room in Tempe now. I can barely afford my medications. My credit is destroyed. I have nothing." "I see," I replied coldly. "That's all you're going to say?" she cried out, incredulous. "What do you want me to say, Mariella? You made choices, and now you are living with the consequences." I was scared. I panicked. I didn't know what else to do. "You could have told the truth," I retorted. "You would have saved all of us a lot of trouble." She wiped her face with her sleeve. I know, and I wish I could change it, but I can't." She took another deep, ragged breath. "I just want you to give me another chance." I laughed. I couldn't help it. Another chance for what? For us. We had something good before everything went to hell. We could get it back. I've changed. I'm in therapy. I'm working on myself. I finally see where I went wrong. "Perfect. I'm genuinely glad you're getting better," I replied. "But that has nothing to do with me." "Please," she insisted, grabbing my arm. I instantly pulled away. "I have no one," she continued between sobs. "My mother won't speak to me. Paula won't answer my calls. My friends disappeared. Everyone knows what I did. I am completely alone." "That is not my problem." "How can you be so cold?" she spat out, desperate. "Practice," I answered. My father let out a quiet, nasal chuckle behind me, which made Mariella shoot him a furious look before turning back to me. "I loved you," she said, her voice a thin thread. "I still love you. We were together for 12 years. That has to mean something." "It meant something," I corrected. "In the past. And you annihilated it the day you decided to sleep with Hector like you were 16. Her face crumbled even more. "I can't undo it. If I could, I would. I'm just asking for your forgiveness and a chance, and for you to help me get back on my feet." "There it is," I replied. The real reason finally surfaced. "You need money." "I need help. Is that so terrible? We were married. We built a life together." "That doesn't obligate me to anything," I interrupted her. "We are divorced. Your life is now your responsibility." "I'm sick. I'm struggling. I feel like I'm going crazy just trying to survive, and you're just standing there like none of this matters." "Because it doesn't matter to me. To me, you are a stranger who made disastrous decisions and now has to live with them." Mariella completely collapsed. She fell to her knees right there on my porch, crying as if the world had ended. "Please," she moaned with a broken voice. "Please take me back. I'll do anything you want. I'll sign any agreement. I'll go to every therapy session you ask. I'll work 3 jobs if I have to. I just can't be alone anymore." "Mariella, get up. I am telling you, get up." She raised her gaze. Her makeup had created 2 black rivers running down her cheeks. "So that's it. You're going to let me suffer?" "You caused this suffering yourself," I replied calmly. "I'm simply choosing not to fix what you deliberately broke." "I hope you're happy," she spat with hatred. "I am," I said without hesitation. She returned to her car, a rickety Honda that looked like it survived by sheer luck. She sat there for a full minute before starting it, likely crying some more. I didn't bother to check. When she finally left, my father and I went back inside. He opened 2 sodas, handed one to me, and commented as if he'd just finished watching a peculiar movie. Well, that was certainly entertaining. You're cold, Dad, I replied, though a small smile escaped me. You know what's funny about some people? My father commented, opening his can with a dry snap. They completely destroy their own world, and then they show up expecting someone else to pick up the pieces. He sat down on the sofa, settling in, as if we'd just returned from a strange show. And the worst part, he added, is they act like it's your obligation to offer them an immediate solution, like you're some kind of emotional tech support service. I chuckled, leaning my back against the wall. I guess so, I replied. Sometimes it feels like they expect an extended warranty for their bad decisions. Exactly, he said, pointing the can at me, as if you were the one there, forcing them to make every single bad choice. And when life sends them the bill, they come looking for you because they think you can somehow erase their history. He took a long drink and sighed. It took me years to understand, he continued. But there's a point where you have to stop trying to rescue someone who has no intention of stopping their own sinking. I finally learned that some people aren't looking for help. They're looking for a convenient lifeboat to cling to while they keep doing the same old toxic things. I stayed quiet for a moment, letting his words sink in. It was strange, but that ridiculous scene on the porch felt like it had finally sealed something inside me that had been open for too long. In the end, my father added, setting the can down on the table, everyone has to carry what they build, and some people build ruins without ever realizing it or wanting to see it. I'd agree with that, I nodded. We watched the game quietly, not really paying attention. The commentator's noise filled the room, but the tension Mariella had brought with her had completely evaporated. I took a deep breath. For the first time in ages, the heavy feeling in my chest was gone. There was no resentment, no rage, no desire for further settling of scores, just a quiet, clean clarity. Her chaos was no longer my problem. I guess that's just the way it is, I finally said. Some doors close themselves, and it's best to leave them firmly shut, my father replied, raising his can. I clinked mine against his, this time with genuine sincerity. The episode of that night finally ended there. And although Mariella had left in a desperate stumble, I was left with something I never expected, a peace I hadn't felt in years. The kind of tranquility that only arrives when you understand you are not obligated to save someone who decided to sink alone, and especially not someone who actively tried to drag you down with them. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need any more explanations. I just needed to remember that my life was moving forward, and that what she had broken would never again fall on my shoulders. If the person who tried to destroy your life and reputation came back years later begging for your financial help and forgiveness, would you walk away or feel obligated to try and fix them? Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Share your thoughts about this story in the comments.